This is what I cooked as a private chef in Beverly Hills. Very rarely, but once in a while, my clients will request to have two very different items. And it's my job to accommodate. One of my clients requested a pork chop, so I made sure I grabbed it the day before so I could do an overnight brine. Just some water, garlic, salt, honey, thyme, and rosemary. I ended up having to cook it down a while because I added too much water like a dummy. Once I got it down to the flavor I wanted, I added ice to cool it down. Threw my pork chops in a container and put enough of the brine to completely submerge those chops. To get ahead for tomorrow's lunch, I also made the vinaigrette. She requested Asian chicken salad for her and her guest. For the dressing, I combined rice vinegar with fresh grated garlic, grated ginger, soy sauce, hot mustard, honey, sesame oil, and avocado oil so that the sesame wasn't too overpowering. Now, the morning of, I removed the pork chops from the brine and I dry them on paper towels. While that dries, I jump on prepping the many components of the salad. First are the sugar snap peas, you know the deal. Remove the strings and slice on a bias. Thinly slice red cabbage and Napa cabbage. Always rinse and dry your veg. No bugs allowed. I like to quarter cucumbers so that I can easily deseed them and then cube them. Slice those cherry tomatoes in half. Peel and Asian julienne these farmer market carrots. Asian style julienne is just when you slice them on a bias, shingle them on top of each other, and then give them a slice. Cut some green onions, and if you've been watching a while, you know that I like to wash my green onions after I slice them. We had some leftover chicken from yesterday's lunch, so I just shredded them to be tossed into the salad. I personally am not a fan of cilantro because of the soap gene, but it definitely has its place in Asian chicken salad, so I sliced that as well. And finally, I toasted and chopped these cashews. The key point of an Asian chicken salad for me is that it has to have a whole lot of texture. Crispy, crunchy, juicy, soft, it should have it all. It got a little hectic right before our guest arrived, so I missed recording the applesauce, but it was just Granny Smith apples that I cooked down in a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and sugar. Nice and simple. Then I go and seared the pork chops, basted in butter, and set that aside to rest while I made the sauce. Deglazed the pan with a bit of apple cider juice, threw it into a pot with a bit more cider and apple cider vinegar. I'm really pushing the apple theme heavy. Can't go wrong with pork chop and apples. Then I threw in some cubed apples, a bit more sugar, and let that cook and absorb the liquid. While that sauce is reducing and the apples are cooking away, it's time to plate the salads for the ladies. I combine all those prepped ingredients along with some crispy wontons and the dressing. Stack them nice and high in this pretty little bowl, put an avocado rose for them, and garnish with some crushed wonton chips for a bit more texture. Now we go back to the pork. Cooking is all about multitasking and time management, making sure that the salad is still crispy and not wilted while the pork chop is still hot. To plate, I spoon some of that apple puree on the bottom, slice and shingle the pork chop on top with the bone nice and pretty, some steamed cauliflower on the side, and I went to finish up that apple cider glaze with the apples. A touch of sugar to round it out, and mounted it with butter to thicken it and give some shine and richness. Spoon the apples and reduction over the pork chop, and off they go. I hope they like it. My client has a guest coming in today for lunch in an hour and a half, so let's jump in. As always, I start off with what takes the longest. I get these baby Yukon Golds rinsed to get rid of any dirt and fill the pot with cold water. Season heavily with salt, garlic, thyme, and rosemary, the greatest hits of seasoning for potatoes, and I get that boiling. Good morning, by the way. Today's requests were grilled colossal shrimps. Start off by peeling the shrimps and removing the tails. Look at how massive these suckers are. Their price tag is massive too. They were 50 bucks a pound, and they're about as big as my face. Once they were peeled, I trim off the ugly pieces on the head end and slice them from the belly all the way to the other side, but without cutting through the skin. This allows me to remove the poop line, season the inside, and makes them easier to cook and eat. This is how I learned, and this is how most sushi restaurants clean their shrimp. For the marinade, I got some olive oil, pressed garlic, fresh parsley, and adobo seasoning. Toss the shrimps in and make sure they're well coated. Arrange them nicely on the sheet pan and let it marinate for about an hour before I throw them on the grill. I got these nice summer squash and zucchini, so I just slice them in half, score them, coat in olive oil, and season with Cajun seasoning. Kind of like blackened zucchini. Get them on the grill so they can slowly cook and get a nice char while I prep the rest of the components. I got a few more of these sugar snap peas that I had to use up before our new shipment of vegetables come tomorrow. So I cleaned the sugar snap peas, sliced them in half before sauteing in a hot pan with a bit of olive oil and salt. Nice and simple. These things are so sweet, there's no need to really mess with them too much. I made this chimichurri yesterday because I had some parsley that was about to be on its way out, but I wanted to add some lemon juice to go with the shrimp. It's about $12.50 at this point, so I get those shrimp on the grill and get a nice hard char on them. Cooking them so that they're just barely opaque. Once shrimps get overcooked, especially ones these large, they get extremely rubbery and tough. I decided to keep these potatoes a little bit healthier by just removing the skins and serving them boiled with that herby citrusy sauce. Thankfully, they still had a whole lot of flavor due to the cooking liquid even without roasting. It's about 1:10 and it's time to plate. Our guest is known to eat pretty large portions, so I made sure to fill up his plate. I sliced the Cajun spice zucchini that I hit with lemon juice, the sauteed sugar snap peas, the baby Yukon Gold potatoes that I peeled, and 6 of those colossal grilled shrimps. I served him an avocado rose last time he was here, and I remembered him saying how much he loved it, so I made sure he got one again. Seasoned it with a bit of Malden salt, and I just spooned the herb citrus vinaigrette all over those shrimps and the potatoes to freshen it all up. It's a lot of food. I hope he can eat it all. If you've been around for a little bit, you know that there's a salmon tartar that my clients request pretty often. It's probably one of our absolute favorites, and I've had a few people ask for the recipe of the yuzu soy vinaigrette. So for the first time ever, I'll be giving it to you. I'll put the measurements in the caption if you guys are interested. By the way, the measurements are in grams, so sorry Americans, you're gonna need a scale. You're just simply gonna combine 150 grams of soy sauce, 50 grams of mirin, 50 grams of rice vinegar, 40 grams of yuzu juice, 40 grams of sesame oil, and anywhere from 50 to 100 grams of sugar depending on how sweet you like it. My clients tend to like things a tad bit on the sweeter side, so I do the full 100, but if you like things more tangy and less sweet, shoot for 50 and adjust. Cooking is all about adjusting and finding out what's best for your own palate. Then I throw that in the fridge to make sure it's cold for service. For the garnishes, I thinly slice chives using a wet paper towel to hold them together. Remember not to smash the chive, use the blade and slice. You're gonna need a sharp knife for this. For texture, I'm also gonna make some fried shallots, thinly sliced with the mandolin and toss with half cornstarch, half flour, and a touch of salt. Throw in the shallots and gently break those rings apart in the dredge so that we can end up with evenly fried shallots. I like to start my fried shallots in cold or warm oil and then slowly bring it up to medium heat to get them crispy and have them stay crispy. The idea is to cook out all that moisture, even the liquid inside the shallots, before they get too much color. I also pull them before they are the color that I want them to be. You'll see that as they sit, they'll continue to get darker, so be careful. These can easily get bitter. I got this dry-aged Ora King salmon from the joint in Sherman Oaks. I love how buttery it is. I removed the skin, cut out the bloodline, and cut them into nice small cubes. They prefer the cube because they like a little bit of bite and not completely chopped up like a traditional tartar. Next, I cube up these avocados to roughly the same size as the salmon, give them a quick toss with a bit of olive oil, salt, and lemon juice. When it's time to plate, in a shallow bowl, I get a ring mold and put down a layer of the cubed avocado first, getting it as even as possible. Then I dress the cubed salmon with the yuzu soy vinaigrette, tasting to make sure it's where I want it to be. Then I spoon it on top of the avocado, also pressing it down so that it's even and won't fall apart when you pull out the ring mold. If it's too loose, it's just gonna fall apart. Our fried shallots on top of that for texture, then our sliced chives. Remove the ring mold and add our quinoa vocetra caviar. You know how much they love their caviar. Spoon a bit more of that sauce in the bowl and serve with some wonton chips on the side for them to scoop onto and eat. They love salmon and avoid tuna because of the mercury content. But how about you? Do you like salmon or would you have preferred tuna? Have you ever had dry aged fish? My clients requested bronzino for lunch today, so I headed over to the joint in Sherman Oaks to grab a big old dry aged bronzino. I know dry aging fish sounds weird, but there's a very good reason to do it. The controlled drying removes water from the flesh, concentrating the flavors, gives the fish more umami, and makes the texture more tender. It's quite fascinating. You might think that dry aging fish would make it fishier, but you'd be wrong. There's absolutely no fishy aroma coming from the fish. Anyways, after I broke down the fish, I seasoned it with salt, olive oil, garlic powder, onion powder, and tartar. Tartar, if you don't know, is a Middle Eastern spice blend that's made with dried thyme, oregano, sumac, and toasted sesame seeds. You'll also find some variations with other herbs and spices. One of my viewers told me that this was the correct way to cook couscous, so I gave it a try. I had salt, extra virgin olive oil, and she said just a bit of water to moisten it. She then told me to steam it instead of just pouring hot water over it. I wanted to give them something fresh, so I combined aged balsamic with olive oil, fresh chiffonade basil, then threw in half cherry tomatoes and cubed avocados. I would have liked to put in some cucumbers, but sadly the cukes had seen better days. After 30 minutes, I pulled out the couscous from the steamer, and you know what? It does make a difference. It felt fluffier and lighter, and the couscous didn't have any mushiness. I also had some leftover lemony citrus herb sauce from the Colossal shrimps, so I used that to season up the couscous and set that aside. For the final component, I blanched some haricot vert and shocked them in ice water. We have like 5 pounds of sliced almonds for some reason, so to use them up, I made haricot vert almondine. I melt down butter, throw in a handful of sliced almonds, toast them while also getting that butter nice and browned. Once it starts foaming, I saute a bit of grated garlic before I throw in the blanched green beans, toss it around to cook, and season with salt and a big squeeze of fresh lemon juice. It's about 12:55 at this point, so I grab my bronzinos and head to the grill to cook them. Get them a bit charred to get that beautiful smoky flavor and start to plate. On my hot plates, I put down our lemony herb couscous, tomato avocado salad, haricot vert almondine, and the grilled bronzino that I splashed with fresh lemon juice. We also had some micro opal basil for some reason. I don't really get a say in what we get delivered from the farmer's market, so every week is a surprise. This is my day as a personal chef in Beverly Hills. I arrive at my client's home at around 11:40 a.m. There was a lot of freaking traffic. Anyways, my clients have guests tonight and they requested good old bronzino. But before I start prepping for that, I need to make chicken stock because the freezer was running out of space. I roasted these bones and then threw them into a large stock pot with water, parsley stems, celery, thyme, bay leaves, black pepper, carrots, onion, some shallots that were getting old, and leek tops. She wanted the very rich and decadent brownie cake again for dessert, so I made that early to get it out of the way. It's just a simple brownie recipe with probably 1.5 times more chocolate than it should have and molten salt on top, but they love it, especially warmed up with ice cream. It's around 1 p.m, so I stopped to serve them lunch. They usually just eat some kind of eggs when they know they're having a larger dinner, basically just to hold them over until dinner. I break down these 2 large bronzino, first by removing the heads, then removing the fillets, I remove the rib cages, pull out the bones before I season them with kosher salt, garlic powder, onion powder, olive oil, and oregano. Here's me flexing my chives. We are getting a fresh shipment tomorrow, so I wanted to use everything we had left. I wanted some nice baby leeks, but unfortunately all they had were these Hulk-sized ones. I cut them into large rings, coat with kosher salt and olive oil before throwing them into the oven to roast. Peeled these extremely sweet heirloom carrots, cut them into oblique cuts, tossed in olive oil, kosher salt, and a bit of thyme. I wanted these to just gently steam in their own juices, so I wrapped them in aluminum foil and let it bake in the oven. I break down these variety of baby squashes from the farmer's market, cauliflower, and the last of the sugar snap peas. The zucchinis and cauliflower both get olive oil, salt, and za'atar, and into the oven. The sugar snap peas just get a quick saute to get some color but retain a bit of that crisp texture. I had some time to kill, so I made a quick pickling liquid with champagne vinegar, salt, sugar, a bit of water, and bring it to a boil. Then with the liquid boiling, I just pour it over the shallots and let it sit until it reaches room temperature. Once the leeks were nicely charred on the outside, I carefully removed the tougher outer layers and kept the nice jammy centers. My clients also asked me to make some chocolate covered strawberries, so I got that out of the way so they would have time to set. Here's a quick tip on how to cut lemons so that they're easy to use during restaurant service or when you're throwing a dinner party. Cut off the tips, slice into quarters like this, remove that center piece. This allows me to pull out any seeds and give me this perfect little wedge that is seedless and releases the juices very easily. Last thing I do before the guests arrive is to get a little char on that blanched asparagus so I can quickly flash them when it's time to serve. They've just arrived, so that means it's time to give them their caviar platters. Buttered toast points with potato chip, creme fraiche with chive, chopped egg whites and yolk, and of course 2 ounces of Osetra caviar. While they sip and snack on their caviar platters, I grill the bronzino and get started on the sauce. I didn't have any white wine, so I made an herby lemony sake beurre blanc. Sweat some shallots down in olive oil, deglaze with sake, reduce until the alcohol is gone, and start whisking in cold cubes of butter to emulsify. Season the sauce with a lot of lemon juice, chives, and parsley to brighten it up and balance out the richness of the sauce. Plus, it looks nice. The plate, I spooned the herb beurre blanc onto the bottom of the plate and just randomly, organically dropped the vegetables around. I did go a bit crazy with the veg, but it's also because the plate was really small. Placed the grilled bronzino on top, the warm tomatoes on top of the fish, and off they go. They ended up eating all the fish and vegetables, so I guess it wasn't too much. While they ate their mains, I wiped down the kitchen and prepped their dessert. I put a spoonful of this chocolate shortbread crumble so that the ice cream wouldn't move around, then the warm slice of brownie cake and the chocolate strawberry. Pretty big pieces, but they did end up finishing these as well. We love clients that know how to eat. After my clients have a heavy meal, they like to balance it by having something a little healthier, and that usually ends up being a hearty grain bowl. I always tell people it's easy to make meat taste good, but I think being able to make a bunch of vegetables taste good is a true sign of being a well-rounded chef. Their grain of choice is usually farro, so I get that boiling in a pot with salt and thyme and let it boil until tender. It's nice because it's almost impossible to overcook and will retain a nice chew. Our first component is roasted sweet potato, so I peel that, cut it into cubes, toss with olive oil, smoked paprika, curry powder, and salt before throwing it in the oven to cook. Grain bowls are great because it allows me to use up any vegetables that I have small amounts of, like these blanched green beans. So I'm just going to cut these up to use later. I think all grain bowls need some kind of sauce, so I grated a cucumber and combined it with salt to pull out excess moisture to kind of make a pseudo tzatziki. Since most of the components are going to be hot for this grain bowl, I also like adding a cold crunchy component like a tomato cucumber salad. I marinate them in some shallots, sherry vinegar, grated garlic, salt, oregano, and olive oil. Some of y'all were mad that I removed the cucumber guts, but I stand by that decision and I'll do it again. Now that the grated salted cucumbers have sat a while, I push out whatever liquid that I can with a spoon and start on our yogurty cucumber sauce. Just yogurt, salt, parsley, chives, the grated cucumbers, olive oil, fresh lemon juice, and grated garlic. I would have loved to put some fresh mint and cumin in this, but sadly we were out. Once the farro is cooked, I just drain it and set that aside. I decided to saute those green beans in a bit of olive oil and garlic before tossing with the farro. Just more texture, flavor, and fiber added to our grain bowl. One of my favorite things to add to any grain bowl is feta cheese. Specifically French feta. I find French feta to be milder, less salty and briny, and tangier, which I love. Let me know what kind of feta you think is superior. I decided the yogurt sauce needed a little bit more love, so I added sazon. The yogurt sauce just needed a little bit more oomph, and this was the key. Last thing before plating was adding cubed avocado to that cucumber tomato salad. A balanced grain bowl should have, obviously, a grain, plenty of fiber, some roasted vegetables, something hearty like sweet potato squash or meat, components to brighten it all up like a cold salad, otherwise it will feel a bit too heavy. And finally, some of that herby cucumber yogurt and feta for creaminess and tang. And to finish it up, just a bit of sunflower seeds for texture. A vibrant, healthy, hearty grain bowl that hits all the flavor and textural notes while leaving my clients feeling good. I hope they enjoy it.